Okay, this is just a really quick look at two different forms of assessment. The first, if we go through the Learning Gym again, we have a link to a rubric website. Now this site has a large number of existing rubrics. They can be modified, or it's really a simple process of creating your own rubric. You can create a rubric within seconds. Now the idea of a rubric is that you're creating an assessment tool for a particular activity. It might be a piece of written work, it could be a maths exercise, or you might be assessing something over a longer period of time, a day, a week, or even longer. In this case, this is a teamwork rubric, and down the left hand side you have the criteria for assessment. Now this is written in very simple language so that the students can understand what they're being assessed on. The idea of having a rubric is that it's very much real-time assessment, and it's assessment for learning. So the first time you use it, you may call a student up, run through the different criteria, and then assess together. So the first criteria is gathers useful information. You might decide together that the student has collected a lot of useful information, so you click there. Now it gives you a running total, a 4 for great job done. And there's an area for feedback as well. Okay, the next criteria is shares information. This may be an area where the student has made a good effort and has shared some basic information, so again, tap on the box. Now the assessment can be done very quickly. The students understand how they're being assessed. They get a very good idea of what their strengths are, and also the areas that they need to improve and work on. Now, the whole idea of this is once they get used to this form of assessment, they can begin to self-assess and peer assess. When the information is entered, it's then saved and it goes onto a grade book. So the teacher has a record of their progress, including comments. Now this can also be accessed online by the student and their parents. So it's a great way for parents to see how their child's doing and to be part of the assessment and development of their child. Now this is in contrast to another form of assessment, which is commonly known as the APPs. Now the APPs come on a large sheet of paper. This is a literacy APP. So what I found is the criteria is very subjective and very difficult to work with and very difficult to understand. For the teacher. It's certainly not written in student-friendly language, so it serves no purpose as an assessment for learning tool that the rubrics does. So my argument would be it's just far too time-consuming, too vague, and too difficult to administer, with no real benefit for the student. So if you look here, some of the criteria, some appropriate ideas of content included, some attempt to elaborate on basic information or events, attempts to adopt viewpoint through, though often not maintain. These are very subjective, would take a long time for the teacher to assess the child and not much use to the child. Now the maths APP is very similar. You can see there it begins to recognise nets of familiar 3D shapes. Now to what extent they begin to recognise is very subjective. So in this day and age, with the technology available, I think that rubrics is the way to go, and there's really no excuse for not having assessment for learning rather than this form of assessment, which is not very useful at all. Okay.